Greetings and salutations. I just had to really to make sure that my audio was connected properly because I had a Guildmaster Ravnica video some time back that didn't have audio because I didn't plug in my speaker, my microphone quite right. As you can see, this is actually going to be the first video of Paizo month / Pathfinder 2nd edition month, which is also / Starfinder month, because I'm going to show off Starfinder and Pathfinder stuff. And this happens to be the newest book from Paizo. I say Paizo, and then I'm going to say Paizo, because I've heard people say both, but my preferred is Paizo. This is the Dark Archive from Paizo Publishing. This is largely a mystery, supernatural kind of thing. You know, if you watched Supernatural like I did for many years and watched Grimm and those kinds of shows, or Charmed, stuff like that, magic, psychic powers, mythical folklore, beasts and gods and all kinds of stuff, and devils. This is definitely going to be a book for you, but this also gets into like the Cthulhu mythos a little bit. So I'm actually kind of just really jazzed about that. You happen to have this beautiful cover book. This is more or less like a expansion, core expansion kind of book. This is not a part of the main line, but it's also not entirely not a part of the main line of books. So you can buy this and don't worry about it screwing up too much, but it also is a really nice book to have. You happen to have, yet again, the standard Paizo art style thing, where they put in beautiful borders around the pages. And they just happen to be designed or offset in just a manner that is actually quite nice. I'm going to adjust my angle of my camera. You happen to have the table of contents spread across 2 pages. You have the credits down a single strip on the side here. Paizo doesn't really believe in burning an entire page for 150 people who, they just kind of cram them all into this sidebar here. It's a smaller company, and yet they seem to outproduce Wizards of the Coast in quality and quantity time and again. So you have the introduction on page 4, Archivist's Training Manual, which is starts at page 6. Starts at page 6. The Stolen Case Files, which starts at page 50, which is more or less the supernatural kind of area, X-Files area. And then you happen to have, it continues all the way down, and there's subsections like cryptids, secret societies, deviant abilities, minors, mirrors and imposters, cults, curses, temporal anomalies, and mindscapes. And then you have spells, items, glossary, and index starting at 216. Paizo puts out a lot of books. So they happen to have this handy dandy little piece down here with a little key for all the books that this book ties into. So if you want to say like, oh, LOGM. That's Lost Omens, Gods, and Magic. Okay. Moving on. So here you go. You got the Welcome to the Dark Archive. This section is basically just setting up a lot of your basic character options. You have 2 new classes and 2 new iconics. You got the Psychic Iconic class, and you got the Thaumaturge. You got Thalion and Menos in there. And then you got, here's the Psychic. As typical for Paizo, There's a beautiful page of a full page of artwork. You got everything standardized in arrangement. You have the standard header here. You got the sidebar here for all the chapters and sections in the book. You got the key ability and hit point box up here in this brownish red area. You got the basic what is this class kind of being during combat encounters, during social encounters, while exploring, in downtime. You might, others probably. This is basically a quick little guide about how does this class interact with the various sections of the game. So there you go. You got initial proficiencies section here. You got perception, saving throws, skills, attacks, defenses, and spells. You have the basic core features of the class, boop, right there. And then you happen to have the table. This is really interesting because typically they have like a skill, abilities, and class features. But they actually broke it into two different tables here. You got one up here that's just listing here, and they actually have another one that's all spells. Sometimes they combine the two of them in various books. Sometimes they're separate, but they usually keep them pretty close. You have the basic subclass structure and how your character progresses through the system. And you have a box right here that's on the key terms, which tells you exactly what each, like, amp heightened means. Mind shift means. Psychic, what does that mean? Amp, what does that mean? You got this really cool little piece of artwork where your psychic is just holding up his hand and they're crushing the object by pinching their fingers together. There's probably a few days when people at work want to do that to me, and there's probably a few days when I wanted to do that to various people. Humans are frustrating. Weirdly, D&D and tabletop games are not so frustrating for me. I don't know. It outlines by the level when you gain abilities. And then you have a section on the subconscious mind. The conscious mind. And this basically works out like your subclassing structure and your basic abilities in casting. And we just go through that. And then we got the infinite eye. And this is actually rather interesting because it wouldn't normally, once you get past, like, say, this initial list here, it would immediately almost go right into the feats, but that's not the case with this class. It's uniquely structured in a different way that changes up how many spells work. But anyways, as we can go along, we happen to have a sample bar for a subclass and how to build them. And then we happen to have, continues on, all the little different special cantrip spells you got. And then you have your psychic feats going from level 1 all the way to level 20. And then you have a psychic feat table right here. This actually lists out all the feats that are compatible with the class that are in this book. Another sample one right here. Another sample right here. And as you see, that keeps going, all the feats. People start worrying about the feat structure in Pathfinder 2nd Edition. The system is not super complex. Do not over worry. There is actual mechanics built into the system for retraining feats. So if you gained a feat and you do not like a feat, or it's just redundant and useless to you, or something like that. Typically, most feats in Pathfinder 2nd Edition are not useless. They're just either the thing that fits best with your class, the thing that complements your class, or the thing that is just like, it's something else. Okay? And then you get into the thaumaturge. Yet again, you got a full little piece of artwork. Same basic structure here. You got the key bits here, the header. You got basically the role-playing, the social talky-talky part, how your character interacts in the world, or your class would naturally be related into the world. Then you got your proficiencies. Then you happen to have your class features right here. Your basic abilities right here and how they work that are listed on the class features. You got a section, this little box right here, just like the sake. There's a little box right there for key terms that are related to the related to this class. It's really late, so my talking issues are acting up. It continues through all the levels all the way from second level all the way through to level 20. And then it goes into your implements, which are basically the special items that determine your subclass for the thaumaturge. As you gain levels and you gain feats, you can gain extra implements, which makes your character more versatile, but you can only level up one to the highest setting, the second one another one into the second highest setting, and the third one you just get it for extra versatility. So there you go. And then, as we say, there is bell implement. You got the chalice, lantern, mirror, and I think that's it. And regalia, and tome, and wand. And weapon. Yeah. I just had to slow down for a moment and read that all out. Well, those are the ones you get for the implements. While I was flipping through there, you also got an example of a thaumaturge that is using the mirror implement as his main thing. And they call him the Trickster. And they give you a list of feats here, first implement, skills, ability scores, and the basic concept of how he operates. But after that, after we get done with the implements and their various levels as they increase, or you gain access to increasing those various abilities, you got the thaumaturge feats, which start at level 1 and go all the way to level 20. And in here, you got also that bar again that basically lists all the feats and what level they are available at. And then you have another thaumaturge, which is actually a sprite who actually has the amulet as her implement. And then you have another one right here that actually has the tome. Now, I have to note that there's an issue in this artwork. This thaumaturge is clearly based as an elf from the Mwangi Expanse. Now, the masks she is holding or has on her is very indicative of several cultures in Africa. However, they probably are not accurate to, or would not be the most fitting types of masks that an elf would have, because they're based around African faces structure and stuff like that. And elves have quite a bit of different face structure compared to people from Africa, as well as the ears on the masks compared to elf ears. So that is probably a conceptual oversight with this situation. I would think the masks would actually be more imitating her culture's faces and structure, as opposed to another culture's faces and structure. It's exceptionally obvious with the one that's over her crotch, which actually, yeah. And then after you get through the feats for the thaumaturge, you go automatically into the archetypes. You have the psychic and the thaumaturge. Important rule to remember whenever you are using archetypes for your classes, that anytime you use a archetype, if it's a named archetype, like you have a character class that's psychic, and you also have an archetype that's psychic, you cannot use the archetype version of that class on the same class, okay? That is for multi-classing purposes. And it actually states it's in the multi-classing rules for it. The archetypes are typically weaker than the main classes, but then there's also some differentiating characteristics to the archetype that might be interesting as a side component to your main class. Many people in the Pathfinder 2nd Edition community actually really like the free archetype rule. That can be the variant rule that can be found in the Game Master's Guide. The Game Master's Guide actually covers numerous variant rules for adjusting your Pathfinder 2nd Edition game to making it easier to run or harder, or adding more versatility or more power to your characters as well as your monsters. This is in the section called the Stolen Case Files. It actually goes over a set of adventures. This is actually a nice handy-dandy little area that actually walks you into several adventures that you can do, mysteries, if you say you will, about what is going on. And then you also happen to have little feats thrown in here for each of these adventures. And I'm not going to show you any more of the adventures, but there is a bunch of feats in here and items that are specific to each adventure, as well as some special monsters like primeval winter wolves and such and so forth. And special items. And they're tied specifically to the adventures. I'm going to flip past them because I will not show off adventures. I might show off, say, like some of the items. Paizo just loads with a lot of items and a lot of spells and a lot of class options and a lot of flavor. So there you go. And if you pay attention to the side strip, it changes and expands out. So when you go from one chapter section to another chapter section, the list changes on there and breaks down. So you got the main overflow, and then you have the condensed one, and the expanded out version inside of it. It's basically like those drop down windows where you tap the little plus arrow, and a list actually forms out the bottom of it. That makes the whole thing longer. Kind of like fandom, the fandom site. You also got some various heritages mixed in here as well. They're kind of just mixed in between the adventures and items. So it's actually kind of like a little distracting. Here's another archetype, the alter ego, which is like equivalent to the vigilante or something like that from Dungeons & Dragons 3.5. So you're going to have to dig through these adventures to find a whole bunch of new items and backgrounds, like Legacy of the Hammer background. Dog bone knife item. You got a really nice section. You got a really Cthulhu-esque kind of scene. Kind of had to flip. There's actually this whole section is a huge pile of little adventures loaded with some really nice artwork and a whole bunch of fun items. That actually happens to be the PAX Rare Witch Patron section. The Pact Broker, Return the Favor, and Over the Coals. Various cantrips and focus spells. You got some cursed items right in here for that adventure. You got the thaumaturge turned into a frog-like creature. Keep going. There is a lot of the little adventures in here for your fun and enjoyment, along with tons of items and spells, feats, and all other kinds of stuff. You got Time Oracle Mystery. Tomorrow's Feast. And a few other adventures. And all these are little just short adventures and fun rules for psychic duels. Got a lot of artwork in here. A lot of spells, a lot of feats. This book is just literally loaded with all kinds of tasty goodness. But it requires you to dig around and hunt for it a little bit, which is a negative. You got a section on all the spells and item lists in this book. So there you go. You got an item list, glossary index. So when you are looking for all the stuff, you might want to actually flip to the back of the book and look in the item list and the glossary index section, as well as the spell item list right here. Because as I said, it's all mixed through all the adventures, as well as a large section in the front. There's also the OGL section right here. And the advertisement for the Book of the Dead, which is actually, the Book of the Dead makes an excellent sister book to this book. I happen to have already did the Book of the Dead in an earlier video, so I hope you go and check it out and see what you think. I think I actually did it earlier in the day and I wasn't as rambly as I am right now. So there you go. As far as I can tell and work out, the only thing I can knock this book is organization. That's probably the hardest thing. However, Paizo has put forth a great deal of effort in trying to mitigate the fact that a lot of stuff is spread through the book in weird spots inside of like adventures and stuff in the back end of the book. That they have went and put all those indexes in there in the table of contents and references to where all the items are hidden in the book. So it's a little inconvenient to have to flip between large sections of the book to find various items, to copy them down. However, at least they made the effort of at least giving you a quick reference point to find them quickly. Other than that, I say this book is like a solid 4-star. If you are into Call of Cthulhu and stuff like that, but you also play Pathfinder 2nd Edition and you want to add a little mythos and folklore monsters and fun stuff like that, and cryptids, go ahead and check this book out. I think you will enjoy this. I tried to avoid showing you all the adventures, which also means that I had to skip past and not show you all the items and all the spells and all the feats that are included, as well as the versatile heritage and some of the extra options mixed in. I don't know why Paizo chose to have them mixed into the adventures, but okay. Well, thank you very much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it and have a delightful day, a nice night, a wonderful weekend, a magnificent month, and see you next time.